Hi there. Now, if you're familiar with my Drum Secrets iPhone app, you'll remember the little video tutorial that I give on what some people call the John Bonham triplet routine. Right hand, left hand, and right foot. In the Drum Secrets thing, I then took it a stage further. I said, well, why don't we play it on the hi-hat and the snare drum and get the sounds to blend so you can get a kind of half-time shuffle funk feel. So there you go, you've got a really nice triplety based half-time funk feel, and it's all based on right hand, left hand and right foot. Okay, got a question for you. How many 16th notes are there in a bar of 16th notes? I'll give you a clue that the answer is 16. Exactly. Unfortunately, this being a 3-note routine, we can do that 5 times, 3 5s of 15, so that would be, you could go round that routine 5 times and then you'd be left with a 16th note rest at the end. But the problem is it really doesn't sound very funky. It doesn't sound like we're phrasing in 16th notes yet. So what we have to do is we have to put some accents in to make the listener hear the fact that we are playing 16th notes. So here we go. Welcome to the world of linear drumming. This is how I discovered this kind of stuff, was by taking something that I could already do and applying it to the hi-hat, the snare and the bass drum and phrasing it in this way. Now, if there are 16 16th notes in a bar, 3 limbs, bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat, that's going to make one heck of a lot of combinations. Now, I like the style, I like the sound of this, so I sat down with a pencil and paper. In fact, it wasn't a pencil and paper, it was an old Atari 1040 computer. Do you remember those? Oh, my word, shows how long ago it was. And I printed out pages and pages of linear grooves, and I put them on the stand, and I practiced them. And I got some really good sounds. Some of them were better than others, but it was a good exploration of this style. It was a bit labor intensive, though. As a teacher, I'm always on the lookout for a fun, entertaining and hopefully easy way of getting into a style and learning some new skills. And I realized that what we needed was a linear groove generator. And now, thanks to the Apple company, we have the iPhone, and I've developed an iPhone app called Drum Linear. Now, Drum Linear is a linear groove generator, and it works rather along the same lines as a fruit machine in that you press the button and the dials go round. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay out any money, but you can't have everything. And it will generate for you a new linear groove every time. Within this one app, there are 400 million combinations. So there's a lot of work there if you want to do it all. Some of those combinations won't be particularly musical. You might wind up with 4 bass drums in a row or something horrible, so we really don't want that. And to get round that issue, I've developed the different modes in the app here, whereby we have different collections of the content of each spinner, and that way you can guarantee that you're not going to get, some really unmusical things happening. Some of the modes, for instance, have the backbeat on 2 and 4 every time, or there are ones with displaced backbeats. There's a mode there where the right hand is playing quarter notes. That gives you a very sort of Dennis Chambers-y kind of sound. I think you'll like that one. There's a training mode in there. And then, of course, there is the random mode where you get all 400 million combinations if you want to work your way through them. Another fantastic advantage with this is that your iPod function will still work while you're using it. So stick on something funky, put a Tower of Power CD on or something, have that up on the music stand and play your linear pattern. Now it gets better because there's an auto spin mode which you can set to either 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds or 2 minutes. And let's put it on 30 seconds. There we go, set. So now, while I'm playing along with my iPod, this is going to auto spin and generate a new linear exercise for me every 30 seconds. You can imagine that if you sat there and played along to, I mean, even half a CD's worth of stuff, you're going to be doing some really good quality reading. You're going to be learning a very varied range of linear drumming skills. So it's a very, very powerful learning tool, this. It's available on the iPhone and on the iPad, and it's called Drum Linear, and it's in the App Store now. So hop along and download a copy. Now, it's all very well having an iPhone app that'll generate 400 million different combinations if you can't make them sound any good. So here are a few drum secrets which I hope will get you up and running with this style as quickly as possible. The first thing I want you to understand is that within those 16 notes there's a tune, and the tune more often than not is created with the bass drum and the snare drum accents. The tune could be something as simple as boom, cha, cha boom, boom, cha. That's the tune. All the other 16th notes that you're playing in there which aren't part of that tune would be the unaccented snare notes and the hi-hat notes. That's fine, but it opens up a bit of a can of worms, because it now means that on the snare drum we've got to be able to play some notes very loud and some notes very soft. The soft notes will have a very low stick height. The loud notes, you'd love to have a big stick height, but you can't because you've got your arms crossed. If there's no stick height here, the power has to come from somewhere else, and that's where we use the one-handed clap. If you've seen my Drum Secrets iPhone app, there's a little sequence in there which I demonstrate this at some length. But basically, I've developed this skill over the years of being able to one-handed clap. And the reason behind that is because I've been spending most of my life sorting this out, trying to get as much strength into my hand as possible, so that when I'm playing on the drum, all that power from my muscles here going straight into the drum. That's blisteringly loud, but I was not using a very high stick height at all. When I'm teaching a pupil, I'll say, right, let's play this game. I want you to play as loud as possible, but with as low a stick height as possible. And this is kind of what the exercise looks like. Those are pretty loud notes, but my stick height is, I don't know, a few inches. Sometimes I'll even put hold a stick above the pupil sticks like this, just to prove the point that really they haven't got any stick height. So if they hit my stick, they're not keeping the sticks low enough. So this ability to control the volume of the stick at quite a fine level is fundamentally important for this style. The other bit of advice I can give you for learning this style and getting into it as quickly as possible is actually to play it as slowly as possible. The more times you play something correctly and slowly, the sooner your brain starts to realize, oh, hello, we've got a pattern here. I'm a brain. I like patterns. That's what I do best. And you start to learn it. But you'll only do that if you play it really slowly and get it right every time. So if you find yourself making silly little mistakes, slow it down. One other piece of advice is what I call the release bar mode. Now, if you are using the iPhone app or you've written out some linear exercises of your own, 16 notes all randomly thrown between the bass drum and the snare drum and the hi-hat, it's pretty confusing and it's a bit of a roast to read. So focus yourself on the first half of the bar, read that really carefully, but then disregard the second half of the bar and play whatever comes out of your arms and legs kind of naturally. It's almost like for a split moment there at the end of the bar, you go onto autopilot and play whatever you want, so that your brain's been able to relax. When you loop back to the beginning, you're able to play the first half of the bar correctly. And as I've just said, you want to get things right as often as possible. So that method of having half a bar where you concentrate and half a bar where you go onto autopilot, what I call the release bar mode, is a very powerful way of learning and getting into this style. In fact, in the iPhone app, I've made one of the modes is called the release bar mode, and it does exactly that. You get the front half of the bar as a linear phrase. The second half of the bar could be something as simple as easy things to end up with, so that you're not frying your brain. Okay, so that's it for linear drumming. I hope you found that interesting. Do go and check the iPhone app out. It's called Drum Linear. It's in the App Store now. And happy drumming.